Are you looking to build generational wealth in the continent your parents are from? Do you feel like you love Africa in your own way, but the idea of investing there, putting money there, starting some sort of project maybe has traumatized you from, the conversations you be hearing on the phone of your parents going back and forth with the landlord or the person building their house back home? Does it seem like overwhelming, complicated, or even risky? Well, you came to the right place because this episode is for you. Because today, I'm giving you 5 ways you can start building generational wealth in Africa, even from the United States. These aren't just vague motivational tips, these are actually backed by research, case studies, and proof that they actually work across the continent. And if you ever thought, man, foreign investors are making moves in Africa while I'm sitting here waiting, this is your wake up call. It's time to take ownership of our continent's future and build something lasting for ourselves while we do it. So before we begin, let me just be a little clear. I didn't make this up, right? I actually sat down and looked at 54 countries in Africa and searched for the most common issues they all share. Things like electricity, food loss, access to medicine, affordable housing, and daily retail struggles. I asked myself, what are the biggest gaps in the market? And then I asked myself, what are people already paying for? Like, where are there case studies that prove these models actually work? And then finally, what are the risks versus the rewards? So what I found is that every single African country shares at least one of these big challenges, right? Electricity, food loss, access to medicine, housing, daily retail struggles, and they're all tied to basic needs, not luxuries, needs, which means if you create solutions in these spaces, the chances of success are extremely high. And I want you to hear this. I'm not saying you need millions of dollars. Many of these businesses start with pilot projects, pooled diaspora funds, or even small partnerships. This is about getting our generation thinking differently and acting. So let's begin, shall we? I want to start off with electricity. So did you know that in sub-Saharan Africa, 15% of health facilities have no electricity at all? And only about half of hospitals can count on reliable power. Imagine being in surgery and then the lights just go out, right? Imagine vaccines spoiling in a fridge because the power cut out overnight. This isn't rare. It actually happens on a frequent basis. Now, flip the script. What if you invested in distributed solar systems, right? Mini grids in villages or pay-as-you-go solar kits for households. There's models out there like M-Kopa, which have already proven it works. People pay as little as 50 cents a day for power, y'all. That's less than what they'd spend on kerosene. And why does this work? Because power isn't a luxury. Like I said, this is a basic need. It's survival. It's the tailor who can finally keep the lights on to work at night. The barber who can run clippers without a generator. The hospital that can operate safely. Yes, there are risks, currency fluctuations, policy changes, maintenance, but countries like Nigeria and Kenya now have mini grid regulations that make it safer to invest. And the cost of solar panels and batteries are dropping every single year. Bottom line, reliable electricity is a gold mine because it's tied to dignity, to healthcare, to productivity, and demand will never and is never going to go away. Now, the second way is through food. This statistic, when I came across it doing research, it blew my mind. So about 37% of food in sub-Saharan Africa is lost before it's even eaten. That's almost 4 out of every 10 tomatoes, chickens, or fish that never make it to the consumer. Why? Because there aren't enough cold storage facilities, trucks, or processing plants. Think of the opportunity. Cold hubs in Nigeria charges farmers 25 cents a day to store a crate of produce in a solar-powered cold room. That tiny daily fee saves thousands of dollars worth of food every single year. Where does this work? At big wholesale markets, fishing ports, dairy zones, and even urban areas where demand is high. Farmers and traders are literally begging for the solution because it means they can stop throwing money away. Now, we got to talk risks. In this one, utilization. So if the cold room isn't busy enough, you won't make any money. Simple as that. But if you place it, though, where the market is bustling, right, where there's a high demand and a lot of people around who are willing to use your product, it pays for itself. And the beauty of that is that solar panels actually solve the electricity problem, so you're not relying on unreliable grids. Generational wealth here looks like building facilities that feed communities, create jobs, and generate income, all while reducing hunger. That's powerful. Now, the third one, let's talk about your neighborhood corner shop. So across Africa, these tiny shops, kiosks, handle over 70% of food and everyday goods. But the owners constantly face problems. There are stockouts, high prices from middlemen, and no access to credit. Enter B2B platforms. Companies like Wasoko or Trade Depot deliver goods straight to shopkeepers and even give them small inventory loans. It's a win-win. Shopkeepers keep shelves full, customers get the products, and investors tap into a massive market. And why has this been working? Because these shops are the backbone of African economies. Every single person, whether you're rich or you're poor, buys from them daily. And the risks? Credit default is the biggest one, right? We have the same issue in the United States, people in debt, right, who don't know how to use it correctly. But you can manage it by starting with tiny loans and scaling up as shopkeepers prove themselves. And for us in the diaspora, this looks like investing in the infrastructure, whether that's warehouses, apps, logistics. It's scalable, it's data-driven, and it's proven. Now, the fourth one is health. So here's an ugly truth. 22% of medicines in Africa are either fake or substandard. That's nearly 1 in 4, y'all. And imports 70 to 90% of its medicines, which means constant shortages and high prices. Now, imagine building reliable pharmacy supply chains. Companies like M Pharma have already shown that pooled procurement and inventory management cut prices and keep shelves stocked. And why does this work? Why has it been working? Because medicine is not optional. Again, this is a necessity. It's not a luxury. When a child has like malaria or a mother needs antibiotics, they will pay whatever they can for real medicine. Trust is the most valuable currency here. But the risks? Regulatory headaches, right? But many African countries are now harmonizing their medicine laws under the new African Medicines Agency. So generational wealth here means creating businesses that save lives, literally, like pharmacies, diagnostic labs, distribution hubs. These are high trust, high impact opportunities. Now, the fifth and final one is housing. So Africa's housing deficit is around 97 million units. So let me put that into perspective. In Kenya alone, the demand is for about 250,000 new units a year, but the supply, the amount available, only about 50,000. That's a massive gap. Now, mortgages are rare and expensive, so the opportunity is in rent-to-own micro-developments, so 10 to 50 affordable apartments near jobs and transport hubs. Think about young professionals who can't buy a house, but they're willing to pay consistent rent. Some of the risks here, though, include land titles and construction delays, but if you work with trusted local partners and focus on urban growth centers like Nairobi, Accra, or others, or Abidjan, you're tapping into an unstoppable demand. Why does this work? Because everyone needs a roof over their head. Like I said, this is a necessity, not a luxury. And unlike luxury towers, affordable rentals have constant tenants and steady income. Okay, so let's recap. The 5 proven ways to build generational wealth in Africa from the US are 1. Distributed solar power. 2. Cold storage and agro-processing. 3. Digitizing informal retail. 4. Pharmacy and diagnostic supply chains. And 5. Affordable rental housing. Do you notice the pattern? These are not random startups or fads. They're tied to basic needs, like I said again. Electricity, food, medicine, daily shopping, and housing. Each one already has case studies proving it works. That means you're not guessing. You're building where demand is guaranteed. So here's my challenge to you. Yes, enjoy your 20s. Okay, travel, live, and learn. But also remember that this is the perfect time to start planting seeds for your future. When you don't have a mortgage, kids, or 100 responsibilities weighing you down, you can take smart risks and build something that lasts. Foreign investors already see Africa's potential. They're buying land, setting up cold rooms, financing solar, and digitizing shops. So why not us? Why not the children of Africa? Generational wealth is not just about you. It's about building systems your children and their children can benefit from. It's about making sure the continent isn't just surviving, but thriving. So whether it's starting small with a local partner, pooling resources with friends, or simply learning the market, start today. Because Africa does not need saviors. It needs us.